What's up, Sand Family? Chris here from CTJ Silly to bring you guys another video. Today we're going to be going over the scientific indestructible Bulma Fortress deck that I have created. Very fun, very annoying, very defensive, super control, but just an awesome variation of this Bulma deck. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think down below. Make sure you guys hit that bell for all the notifications so you guys know whenever we're posting new videos. Get right here into the deck profile. So, this leader, she is one of the best leaders in the game when it comes to just pure hand size and being a complete, beautiful weakness to green and hand destruction. So, permanent. All your red and yellow Saiyans and Earthlings in your battle area gain blocker. This is great because we are a very weak leader. We're a 5k on this side, 10k on the awakened side, so we can't really swing a lot, but we really don't need to. So, the activate main, once per turn, you get the draw card. So you don't really need to attack to draw, which is a key point. Then, when you are at 4 or less life, you may choose 2 of your energy, switch them to active mode, and flip this card over. And now, on this side, we get to draw 2. That's it. But on your awakened turn, what you would hopefully like to do is, draw from the game, draw from this ability, restand 2, and then draw 2 more. So you're drawing 4 on your awakened turn, hypothetically. If you can do that, of course. Now, the point of this deck is to not take damage unless you want to take damage, or you're kind of self-awakening yourself and then blocking all of your opponent's damage, basically making them waste all of their resources trying to get through your many obstacles and puzzles that you're going to put in front of them, and get to a point where then you can just win the game because you have more resources. So, we will start with the first engine of the deck, which is going to be the Baba engine. So Baba here plays, you get to choose one Bandage, Spike, or Son Gohan card from your deck, place in the drop area, and then shuffle your deck. Once you do that, you choose one Bandage in your drop area and play it. So naturally that means you want to put Bandage in your drop area first, which is this guy here. So for 1 energy, you played out 2 blockers because she's an Earthling and he is an Earthling. So now you have 2 blockers in play. Now when this card dies, you get to bring out a Spike from your drop area and play it in rest mode. Now Spike is this guy here, and Spike is also an Earthling, so he becomes a blocker as well when he is in active mode. When this card attacks, it gains 9,000 power for the duration of the turn, so this becomes a 15k basically for free, because you're never going to hard cast this for 2. Now, when this card is KO'd, you get to choose one Son Gohan in your drop area, play it in rest mode. And then we get to run this guy. So, our Son Gohan is a 30k skillless, which basically becomes a 30k blocker on our turn, or when it's, restood. So, this engine here has a lot of free play, which is nice because we want to use our energy for other things defensively. This just gives us a lot of just annoying things that our opponent has to get through by. We get to play this, which then plays this, and when this dies, we get to play this, and then when this dies, we get to play this. Now, the reason why I only run like 1 of these, 3 of the Bandage and the Spikes, is because when this stuff's in the drop area, the only card we really need to care about is this. When we play this, we get to put one of these cards in the drop area, which is where we want them, and then we get to play out a Bandage from our drop area. So if this card died at all, we get to play it when we play a new Baba, we just get to play out a Bandage from the drop area and then just start the chain all over again. And it's really annoying to deal with because we can just block almost every single attack. Because once we get the 3 main cards in the drop area, we can just keep cycling that over and over and over again. And we have 4 Babas, so that's 4 chains potentially of, if you count Baba, that's a chain of 4 blockers every time. So, if you do your math there, that's a lot of blockers, right? 16, a lot of blockers. So, for basically 1 energy. Oh, grab the wrong pile. Grab the wrong part of the pile there. So, some of our self-awakeners, because I do want to run some self-awakeners, that way we can pressure our opponent, make them know that we are, not scared of them just because we're Bulma. So we play 2 of these, take a life, gains 10k in crit, very strong card, as well as 4 of this card. And This has been my new favorite red Self-Awakening card. The Piccolo was my favorite, the one that restood itself. That one was cool, but you couldn't attack with it again. This card you can. So when you add a life from your hand, or from your life to your hand, when this card attacks a card that isn't a leader card, you can switch this card to active mode, and it gains 10k power for the turn. So this is a dual attacking 1-drop that takes a life. That Self-Awakens. So you can swing out a Unison, restand, swing again. It's 2 attacks. It's really strong. Really, really strong. And there's some things in this deck where you can possibly give this card double strike for the turn. Who knows? Really strong. But this is a rare. You should pick it up from the set 10 stuff. Really, really good card. Very, 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 very good card. 3 of the Videl negates. Not only is she a 1-drop negate, but then she is also a blocker. So she can block. She can basically stop 2 of your opponent's attacks for 1 energy. Again, value. 3, Broly Crown of Retributions. One of my favorite cards that got reprinted in the new anniversary box because this card was so expensive and I was not going to buy it. And then it came out and I got it for I got 4 of them for $4. So pretty happy. So when your leaders are red, which Bulma is, when you play this card, if your opponent has 2 or more energy in active mode, your opponent reveals their hand, you choose 1 battle card, 20k power or less, put it in the drop area. I know there's a lot of cards that are 20k power or less, a lot of Unison counterplays, which is really good. You can play this card, your opponent, even if your opponent KOs it, or they play a counterplaying, they remove it, as long as they have 2 more energy in active mode, you still get to look at their hand, and you still get to rip something from it. So this is really good, especially if you're going to go into a bigger card that turn, and you want to just have some information on what they have in their hand. Also, if you just want to be really annoying and just rip cards out of their hand, you can do that too. And this is also a blocker. So once this hits the field, because this is a Saiyan, it's a blocker. More and more blockers. You know what's better than blockers? Topo. Topo is better than blockers. So this guy is not a blocker because he's not a Saiyan or an Earthling, but that doesn't matter because he's still Topo Righteous Aid, the best red negate in the game still. So when you play this card, you choose a card in your hand, put it in the drop, which is okay. We have some cards that we want to have in our hand that we want to put in the drop, like Spikes, Bandages, Son Gohans, that kind of thing. And then for the rest of the turn, if our opponent decides they want to attack again with any card, if they choose 2 cards in their hand and put in the drop area, that's really, really, really annoying. And this is a 2-drop on your opponent's turn. So now your opponent has to not only go through all your blockers, but now they have to go through Topos. It's really annoying. I'll tell you what, it is really, really annoying. When you drop these Topos, even if you drop a Topo back-to-back turns, that's really bad. Like really bad. That's going to annoy your opponent a lot. It's going to tilt them off the face of the earth. But it's good because it's Topo. And he's fair now because he got reprinted, as you can see here. So go and buy them. They're like $4. It's amazing. Some more negates, because why not? Android 17 Rebel Reinforcements. This is a 2-drop negate. When you play it, you get to choose a red battle card in your drop area of 1 cost and play it. So the idea, in theory, for this deck, because the one big thing with this card is that if a card says play it from your hand, that effect does not matter. So you don't get that effect. So keep that in mind. You can't play Broly Crown of Retribution because that card says play it from your hand, get this effect. We can play this guy. We can play this guy. We can also play this girl, which is the best one. I don't have the promo Baba, which I'm thinking about buying, maybe. That one gives you 5k. But as of right now, I have this one. So you can negate the attack for 2. And then you can bring out a Baba. And when you play Baba, you get to pitch a Bandage, Spike, or Son Gohan. And then you get to play a Bandage from your drop. So you just played 3 cards for 2 energy. And not to mention 2 blockers. So, really strong. Again, so same thing with Topo. Android 17 is not a negate. Android 17 is not a blocker. So you cannot block with him. So just keep that in mind. He's not an Earthling, even though he's technically kind of an Earthling now, but whatever. Doesn't matter. But he cannot block. I think probably the most underrated card, I talked about this in another deck profile video. I think this is the most underrated counterplay right now in the game. And this is why I feel red can be much better than every other color in this Unison format. So when your leader is red and your life is at 4 or less, if a battle card being played has 15k power or less, place it in its owner's drop. This was the worst counterplay in set 8 when these cards came out. In my opinion, I hated this card because there wasn't a lot of cards that really hit. It mainly hit like Champa the Trickster, Vegeta the Cruel, things like that. But now, with all these free Unison counterplays, every single one is under 15k. Vegeta, I think the Vegeta, the yellow one, is 14. The rest of them are all 15. So when they try to Trunks one of your cards, or they try to, Vegeta, or, they try to, freeze it or do something, just play this for 1 energy. Pop it, goes right to the drop, doesn't get played. And if it's your opponent's turn, your leader gets 5k. So your leader becomes 10k on the front side, 15k on the unawakened side. Not super important in this deck personally, but in other decks, when your leader's already 15k, now you become a 20k. You basically get a free Sensu Bean without playing blue. Pretty strong. The second effect, we can't use because we don't charge multicolor, so that's kind of a bummer. But first effect, still perfect. I'll pay 1 energy for this anytime. One after image technique, just for, just to have it. I think it's a really good card to have. Sparking 5 as well. Our drop areas are going to be pretty full, so this card will be active just in case our opponent does clear our board and we need some sort of final defense for one attack. We can just use an after image token. And then we have the Familia Bonds and Fearless Pan combination. So we run 2 Familia Bonds, which, if you guys don't know, the card says if your leader's red, choose up to 1 red sand in your drop area with energy cost of 3 or less and 15k power or less. Play it, and then you get to search up Dragon Balls, which we don't play in the deck. But the target for this is going to be Pan. Now, I only run 1 Pan, mainly for space, but once we have this card in the drop, we have 2 free plays off of it, possibly. So when this card comes into play, choose your leader and all your red battle cards, and then get 5k in double strike for the turn. So remember how I was saying, here's that really fun Son Goku card. So if you have this card in play, so this card becomes a 10k double strike off rip. You swing at something, and then you restand, and then you get another 10k. So he becomes a 20k double strike. So you can swing at Unisons with this card for 20k double strike twice. You can clear a Unison off really quickly, or just you swing at a Unison, restand, swing at a leader, 20k double strike. You also can give Trunks 5k, and then Trunks, same thing. Trunks becomes a 20k double strike crit for 1 life, basically. So you have some very interesting tools you can play around, and since we don't use a lot of energy in this deck, you're going to be able to maybe play, have some really big plays with this Pan card. She's also a blocker, and she's barrier. So you want to try to keep her on board as much as you possibly can. Once you have her removed, you have one of these in your hand, play it on your turn, and then just keep swinging. Really annoying, by the way. Alright, so then we have the second half of the deck, which now we start getting into the really tough stuff. So now we have the Nappa here, the Nappa super combo, Demolition Man. So this is when this card is comboed from your hand, play this card afterwards. So we get to play this card out for free. It's a 10k super combo, and then when it comes into play, oh cool, now we have a blocker that we can combo with again for 10k for free. Super value. We do run some arrival targets in this deck. We run 3 of the Gogetas. This is for 1 red. When this card's played, choose one of your opponent's battle cards 4 or less, KO it, and you can't play this card for the duration of the turn. But because this is a red Saiyan, this is now a blocker. It's a 20k double strike blocker, and that's just awesome for 1 energy. And we get to pop something 4 or less. Super, super strong. To the Chop of Beerus, same idea. When this comes into play, you get to choose a card 20k power or less, KO it. So any battle card 20k power or less. Then you can choose one of your battle cards 6 or less, and then it gets double strike for the turn. We have some cards in the deck that, you know, could possibly do that. One of my big targets would be the Son Gohan Grandpa card, being able to give a 30k double strike. Pretty strong. But it's also just there as some more defensive tools. Chama Beerus is not a blocker, so it's okay. We don't have too many of these type of cards in the deck that aren't blockers. Since we have so many, it's okay to run some of these tech cards in the deck. Now for the Unisons, I run 4 of the Jirens. I was bouncing back and forth between playing Jiren or Shinran. I think this is the better option for this deck. So when your opponent plays a battle card or a Unison, you may choose it and give it 10k, minus 10k. If you do, negate the skill for the turn. So once per turn, on your turn or your opponent's turn, when they play something, you can basically neg it by 10. This is really good, especially against some of the stronger Unisons in the game. You actually can kind of diminish their power by playing this card, and it puts them kind of in a chokehold a little bit. You also have the ability to activate main, add 1 marker. This card gets double strike, so you have a 20k double strike every turn. That's really hard to remove because he's a 20k body. You also have an activate battle. For -3, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and it gets minus 25k for the duration of the battle. This is really strong. This hits Booney, which is super strong right now. This hits things like Super Saiyan Blue Vegeta from Invoker. There's a lot of cards in this current format that just rip Invoker, but this is one of those cards. Piccolo Simulate Ability. Think of any card that has barrier. Most of them are going to be under 25k. This card just basically kills it. And it's an active battle, which means you can swing and then minus something, or when your opponent's swinging, they combo a bunch of stuff, then you can just play this on top of it, -3, and then kill it. So really, really strong. So we run 4 of this. This is what we want our turn 3 play to be. Our turn 4 play, our turn 5 is going to be the Vegito Unison of Might. I think this card is, at first I thought this card was really bad because it's 4 energy. I'm like, wow, no one's going to want to hard cast this for 4 energy. But as I started looking at it, one of the strongest Unisons in the game right now is a 4-drop Maki Cabra for yellow. And as I started looking at it, I'm like, okay, this is a 4-drop, and the deck needs to be really defensive if we're going to be tapping 4 energy for something. And since Bulma is all defense, this card makes sense. So this has 3 different abilities on it. So for one, it is a 20k. So on board, first turn, this card's going to come down with 4 markers, and then if you just activate 1, it's going to go up to 5. That's going to be really hard for most battle cards to climb. Activate main. For 1, you draw. That's pretty good. So now on your Awakened side, you're drawing at a minimum 4 cards. 2 from your Bulma ability, 1 from the game, and then 1 from this. And then you get to choose a monocolor red battle card with enter cost 2 or less in your hand and play it. So any of our 2 or less cards, so they can be the Babas, the Broly, one of the Awakeners. We can just play any of those cards from our hand for free, and they get their effect if they were played from the hand. So like Broly, you can play it out for free, and you get to rip a card from your opponent's hand. The -2, till the end of your opponent's next turn, if your opponent plays a battle card using a skill, place in the drop area. This is really good against Unison counterplays because your opponent is activating it by a skill, so you can -2 and then just swing with a bunch of stuff. And then if your opponent plays a counterplay, they play Topo or a Kakunso, that card goes to the drop area instead. So the skill of that card does not hit the field. Really, really strong. Also has a -5 if your opponent doesn't have any battle cards in play, you deal 1 damage to your opponent. This isn't necessarily a big thing in this deck, but you can tap 5 with this card, swing, and then if your opponent doesn't have any battle cards, you can just -5 and just deal a damage to him. So it can end up winning you a game that way. So that's why we run 2. Later on, I will probably end up running a 3-3 split of these cards. This is definitely my turn 3 play. I want to see it every time, so I may keep it at 4. May bump this up to 3. We'll see how it plays in the next coming weeks. I'll let you guys know how that goes. Some Unison counterplays, since we are playing Unisons. We're running 4 of the Yamchas. I know a lot of people were saying this card's bad because it doesn't hit the card being played. It hits cards that are already in play. Whatever, it doesn't matter. The fact is that you can play this card out for free, and it's a blocker. That's really what matters. So when you play this card out, if your opponent already has cards on the field, you can choose those cards and minus them by 15k. So if they have 2 battle cards in play, they have 1 battle card in play, doesn't matter. You do this, hits it, minus it by 15k, and then you just play it out a free 15k blocker. That's really strong. We run 1 Wolfang Fist, mainly because I only have 1, and I'm not really wanting to spend the money on buying more of these. Even though it is a really good card to counterattack, your opponent, you choose the attacking battle card or leader card, ignoring barrier, and minus it by 15k. So that's really strong. Your opponent swings or something, you just play this. You can play it out for free if you have a Unison. Deals 15k damage to them, and now they have to try to combo up, or the card automatically dies because it's under 15k. Really strong. Last counterplay. I know I haven't seen anybody playing this card yet. So Master Roshi, Martial Virtuoso. So this is a counterattack if you have a red Unison in play. Each color has one of these 1-drop counter plays or counterattack cards. So you should look into running them because they are really strong. This one here, if you have a red Unison in play, your opponent can attack with battle cards with 25k power or more for the turn. So this is essentially a endgame card. You play this. Your opponent plays a secret rare, you play this. Now they can't attack. and that card just sits there. They go, okay, it's fine. And because this is an Earthling, this becomes a blocker now. So it's just really strong. So, and obviously it's a counterattack card, so they have to attack with something first. So if your opponent has a board, and they go to just swing in with stuff, so that then, to use the energy later on to make you waste some resources, you can just play this, stop anything 25k or attacking, and then you can use this to block other attacks. So we got 2 of these. And then boss monster is going to be the SS4 Gogeta. Obviously he doesn't have the blocker ability because he's not a red Saiyan, but who cares? We charge all the same color. You tap 5, you play this card. When you do, you draw 2, you restand 2, your opponent pitches 2 cards from your hand to the warp, and then they pitch 2 battle cards to the warp. And now this is a 45k triple strike bomb. Problem with this card is that you can't play other battle cards out, and we kind of want to do that because our deck is mainly battle cards. But once we get to this point, we're going to try the end of the game. You can always tap 1 and combo him away later on if you really, really want to. But we're not going to do that. We're just, hopefully we're going to finish the game with this guy. We're going to hold on to it until our opponent has nothing left, and then we're going to throw it down to play. We're not going to probably play it out turn 5, unless they have nothing in hand. But we'll kind of see how it works. So this is what I got for my Bulma deck. Let me know what you guys think down below. Like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.